Hello, everyone. Hello, Tribesters and our extended tribe. Okay, so today I'm super excited to welcome Drew Duckworth, who is the farm manager at Millstone Farm in Wilton, Connecticut. Just so everyone knows, Drew is my brother, which is one of the reasons I'm so excited to have him on, but also because he has so much to share with us about regenerative farming. So he is the farm manager, as I said, at Millstone Farm in Connecticut. And Millstone is a family-run farm, and it's committed to regenerative farming practices. So he's going to give us the ins and outs of what regenerative farming is, why it's so important, and how we as individuals can support it. So Drew, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
And you're in a beautiful setting. That is not a virtual setting. That is an actual green backdrop.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Any moment I can be outdoors, I'll take it.
Yeah, so good for the soul.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start just about you. I obviously know all about you, but no one else does. So share your journey and how you got to where you are now, from Rye, suburbs of New York City, to farming.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly not the typical path. But I think it was graduating in 2009 and was trending and tracking towards finance, and just hadn't really taken a moment to think about what I really wanted to do. And the economic crisis at the time kind of generously gifted me that opportunity. With no jobs in the marketplace at that point, I took the opportunity to go travel in the Western United States, or actually all over the United States, a little bit of Canada, for 4 months, and visited a lot of national parks, was outdoors, backpacking, camping, just connecting with the natural world, and came home and just knew that I did not want to be in an office. I found my way back out west to Durango, Colorado, and wilderness therapy. I was working as a guide for adolescent youth, going backpacking with them and using the wilderness as a place to provide therapy and connection to self, community, and the natural world. That was a week on, week off schedule after a few years and tiredness of that. I decided I still wanted to work outdoors, but I wanted to sleep in my own bed every night. So I fell into farming that way. I remember picking cherry tomatoes in the backyard with my mom growing up. Outside of that, I can't think of a time before this transition that I ever planted a seed or did any weeding or any type of thing agriculturally. And so I just kind of cut my teeth learning, working hard, working side by side with other farmers, living in hay lofts, living in screen tents, and just, asking questions, working hard. And and everything from animals to fruit trees to vegetable production. And here I am now at Millstone Farm in Connecticut.
I'm glad you got to pick cherry tomatoes. I don't really ever remember picking anything. I knew mom did grow some things, you're right, but I don't remember picking them. I'm glad you got that experience.
Yeah, I think I might have snuck out there and stolen them. It might not have been a task we did together.
So I know initially, when you're moving into farming, and even now, organic farming is a big topic, but obviously that's different from regenerative farming. And I'm wondering, can you just give us, sort of in layman's terms, what regenerative farming is, and then we can go into the differences with organic farming and how they differ from one another.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people may have heard of regenerative farming or regenerative agriculture, and a lot may not have. But it is becoming more of a buzzword these days. And it's not any particular practice that's installed. It's dependent on the farm, on the ecosystem that surrounds it, on the management systems of the team. But the easiest way to describe it is we are trying to make the land that we're on better than we found it. So a few ways that we can do that. There's a lot of different practices, but kind of all the different practices involve mimicking the natural ecosystems of the environment that surround the farm. So we're taking into account in Connecticut, we're in the northeast of the United States. We have forest land, we have open fields, we have wetlands. So it's a mixed and diverse ecosystem. So the way
And
that we
that's just, sorry, that's not the farm itself. That's obviously the surroundings, that specific area where the farm is
Correct.
located has all those different types of, okay.
Yes. Yeah. So on the farm, we try and mimic and adapt to that. So there are certain pockets, there are those different ecosystems on the farm. But so we don't try and take over and control what we're doing on the land. And yeah, we work with the natural habitat.
Okay.
So all our practices that we implement, like rotational grazing, multi-species grazing, rotation of crops, no-till practices, all these things we can dive into a little bit more, but the essence of them is really we're trying to increase the soil depth here, which then gives us the capacity to sequester more carbon in the soil and in the root systems of the plants that are growing in the soil, especially in our pasture land with those perennial grasses. And
Yeah, because
then,
when I've done my little bit of investigation into regenerative farming, it was all about the soil, was what my understanding. If we take care of the soil, then the soil will take care of whatever's growing in it, and
yes,
ultimately us.
yes. Yeah. So
Okay.
once we get the soil to a place where it's healthy soil, it really limits the amount of inputs that we need. So in a regenerative farm, those inputs are mostly human work hours, like hand weeding, hand picking bugs off the plants, and using some hand tools to help us with those things. In a conventional system, there's a lot of spraying, chemicals, that in regenerative farming we stay away from that. So we're not spraying chemicals. We're completely free of that, and by doing that, we're giving the soil the ability to heal and get back to a healthy state. When the soil is there, the soil has everything it needs to provide nutrients to the plants that we're trying to grow or the animals that we're grazing in them. It takes a few years, depending on the environment or farm that you're in. It can take anywhere from 3 to 7 years of a lot of man hours and a lot of management of systems to really integrate those together to get that healthy soil.
Okay. And so when you joined, and that was what, 3-4 years ago?
Yes, been here 3.5 years now.
And it was already using regenerative practices, or were you helping to introduce it at that time?
Yeah, there were some practices that have become typical of a regenerative farm, but not across the board. So it was always practiced organic. So organic practice, but not certified.
Okay, so this is great. Let's talk about organic and how that's different from regenerative farming, because I think there's some confusion on one versus the other and why one might be better than the other.
Right. So as you mentioned, regenerative farming is all about the soil. It's increasing the soil health, the soil depth, the carrying capacity of that soil for plants and animals. It's soil, whatever we can do to just help that soil. Organic started that way. Back in the 70s, the organic movement was all about soil. The USDA has gotten involved to organic, at least in the United States, to put definitions to it, what practices are permitted, what paperwork has to be filed. They've also permitted the use of certain chemicals, which does not actually help the soil in the end. And then most recently, they have taken soil out of the definition of organic with the increase in hydroponic growing. There is no soil in those systems. You can still have hydroponic as organic. So what the USDA has done is taken organic out of the definition, or soil out of the definition of organic. So bureaucracy has taken organic from the core values that it was and kind of made it into more of a business and acceptable conventional, applied the organic principles to the conventional business model of agriculture in the United States.
Okay.
Regenerative is kind of going back to the roots of organic and focusing on that. There is no bureaucratic or you can do this, you can't do this. It's just as simple as we're trying to leave this land better than we found it.
I love that. I love that idea of, and that's what I guess, as a human being, hopefully we would all want to leave whatever we're leaving behind better than what we found it. So it's, in a better state for our children, our children's children, and future generations. When it comes to regenerative farming, would a consumer be able to know that they're buying something from a regenerative farm? Is it marketed that way? Are there specific labels?
Right.
How do we find out?
Yeah. It can be tricky to navigate it all. I mean, we talk about regenerative agriculture. We don't put it on any of our labels. We have it on our website. When we're at the farmers market, we mention it. Our CSA members know because they come visit the farm.
I'm going to interrupt you because we have a lot of audience in Europe that probably doesn't know what a CSA is. So can you just talk them through that?
Yeah, CSA is community supported agriculture. It was started in the US in the 80s. And the idea is to bring the community around the farm to help support the farm. So early on in the season, when the costs and expenses for the farm are high with seed and the work to prep the land, and there's not a lot of money coming in, it's a way for the community around it to purchase a share in the farm early on in the season and make a commitment to the farm to, hey, whether it's a boom or bust year, we're with you. So they pay up front in the spring to help get things going. And then throughout the whole season, they come to the farm weekly and they get a share of produce, whatever's in season at the time, to take home and cook for their families.
Another great conversation with our conscious expert, Drew Duckworth, who is the farm manager at Millstone Farm, and my brother. Super proud of him. But if you want to listen to the whole interview, then join Tribe, our holistic well-being membership. So all you need to do is go to our website, consciousworking.co, consciousworking.co, and find out more about Tribe. We love to welcome new members, see new faces, and it is your one-stop destination for all things well-being across mind, body, and planet. And when you start to embrace your own well-being, it's only reasonable that you'll start caring about what you're putting out in the world and what your footprint is. And that's why our 3 pillars are so important, because well-being is not just about me, it's about me, we, community, and planet. Okay, everyone. I can't wait to see you for another episode. Until then, be here and be well.